made a video the other day about stimulus checks and how I felt it was very foolish to be waiting for a stimulus check from the Doge dudes, because it was just never going to get to that point unless they feel like they've lost their popularity and they need to bribe Americans. Then they might send out something. But it certainly won't be from any waste, fraud, abuse that the Doge dudes find. That I promise you. Anyway, a lot of people came to the comments and they said, you know, well, what would a Democratic president do? Like, someone actually asked the question, how does this differ from what Bill Clinton did? Because Bill Clinton did, it is absolutely true, Bill Clinton cut 300,000 jobs from the federal government during his presidency. How is this any different? And I'm going to take a minute to explain to you the vast difference. And to start, let me just say, this isn't apples to apples. This is like comparing an apple tree to a 4-day-old possum shit. That's how much difference there is between what Clinton did and what Trump is doing. But let's get into the details. So yes, this has become the big talking point on the right, that they're just simply doing what Bill Clinton did. And Bill Clinton is a hero because Bill Clinton was the only president in modern history, I think probably maybe the only president in all of history, to balance the budget and actually leave office with a surplus. There was actually money left in the checkbook for us to spend before he left office. So they think that's what they're doing, but there's plenty of news articles. Just go Google it. There's a vast difference, and I'm going to walk through using multiple news sources of how it's different. For starters, it's kind of the timing, right? It was 2 months into Clinton's presidency when he decided to form essentially a committee, right? It wasn't just one person, and he put in charge of it Al Gore, okay? Now, Al Gore was the sitting vice president. Al Gore had also spent 14 years in Congress. He had spent 8 years as a representative, 6 years as a senator. He was the native son of the great state of Tennessee, which last I checked was a Christian conservative Republican stronghold, and in the 90s was filled with middle-class Americans that he was trying to represent, right? Al Gore versus Elon Musk, a non-government employee, foreign-born, ketamine-addicted Nazi billionaire who doesn't give a shit about the middle class, in fact, doesn't give a shit about America. He's only in there for his own greed and power and expansion of white supremacy. That's the whole reason he's there. But let's look at all the other differences. One thing that they all agreed to was that they were going to make it both less expensive and more efficient. See, the efficiency thing is what's escaped Donald Trump, because all they're trying to do is save costs. They want to cut. And they're firing instrumental people, which is why you see the scramble to try to rehire people, because they have no idea how government works and they don't know what jobs are important. When Elon Musk has to send a weekend email to say, tell me what you do, it's because he has no fucking clue. You've put somebody in there who has no idea how the government works, and then you want him to make decisions about how the government works. This has disaster written all over it. But let's talk about this timing. Okay, let's talk about that. See, under Clinton, they spent 6 months. They involved several hundred federal workers, and they made hundreds of recommendations to Clinton and Gore. So they had an entire group of people who already worked in those departments, who knew how those departments worked. And they basically said, okay, the president wants cuts. Let's get back to the president with some cuts. And so they came up with a lot of good examples of you're right, here's some waste, fraud, and abuse. Here's where we could take middle managers out and have people report up a step level. And there's all kinds of things we could do to make it more efficient and more cost effective. And then at the end of 6 months, there were 384 recommendations. And guess what? It went through Congress. Congress had to vote for it. To reduce all of these workers and to save all this money, Congress had to vote for it. It wasn't some cloak and dagger bullshit, let me send you an email in the middle of a Friday night, which, by the way, firing someone via email is chicken shit enough, but doing it in the middle of the night is a brand of cowardice that only Elon Musk could come up with, because he's a big fucking coward, period. And you can pause to read all of this and you can go Google it because there's plenty of articles, but they talk about how they were going to do some buyouts, right? Or like reductions in force where they offer people packages to exit their jobs. And if you look at the vote, so just look at the vote, right? They signed an act, they allowed for restructuring, and I just want you to look at this. 391 to 17 in the House. This is bipartisan with a capital B, and 99 to 1 in the Senate. If Trump sent any of this bullshit that he's doing it wouldn't be bipartisan. It would be only Republicans who are afraid of Elon Musk voting for this bullshit. That's exactly what it would be. Now, see, the buyouts offered under Clinton, again, you can read all of this, but the buyouts under Clinton were approved. They took time. They did plenty of research to figure out where the buyouts should be. Whereas Trump, within 1 week into his term, 1 week, they offered buyouts. They didn't even know who they were fucking buying out. They were just offering bullshit to people. And you can see here, again, another article where it talks about the swift job cuts that Trump is making were in contrast with the slower effort to shrink federal spending under Clinton's administration. They did things with precision. They chose the right things to reduce at the right time, and they made sure that the government could keep functioning in a more efficient manner. They didn't strip out a bunch of people and then go, oh shit, and try to panic and rehire them. But perhaps the most stark difference between the two is how it was received, right? I'm sure there were people that at the time, especially the employees that were getting laid off, probably weren't too happy with it. I'm sure there was some kerfuffle, but there weren't any lawsuits. There was no lawsuits. There was no pushback. So far, we're only a couple weeks into Doge, and there's already 75 lawsuits. 75 lawsuits from labor unions, ACLU, like you name it, states, courts, secretaries of state, like you name it, they're all fucking suing because what they're doing is wrong. It's dangerous. It's greedy. And by pretending they're going to give you stimulus checks, they're doing that so you'll encourage it. Yay, more cuts, more cuts. Send me money because you would rather get a stimulus check than have a program that feeds hungry children. I mean, you have your own morals to contend with. I mean, I would much rather feed hungry children than buy a new jet ski. But that's just me. You do you. But they're lying to you. And if you do get anything, it will only be meant to buy your compliance because you're that fucking dumb that you will just go along with anything he says if he puts a few dollars in your pocket. Meanwhile, unemployment is going to skyrocket. Inflation is going to skyrocket. And then just like in COVID, you're going to get taxed on those checks. You're going to be made to pay it all back. And your taxes are still going to go up anyway. I just don't know what more I can say to make you learn. I'm trying, but it's just not. Big difference between Trump and Clinton. At the end of the day, big fucking difference.